Good day, everyone. This webinar is presented by Training Location, your DiSC provider. We are an authorized DiSC distributor for Wiley Publishing, as well as a channel partner with the Ken Blanchard companies. Stick with me to the end of this video for a complimentary resource and one small request. Our topic today is interaction between DiSC styles, conscientious with steady. This session is part of an ongoing series discussing the interaction between and among the DiSC styles, including dominant, influence, steady, and conscientious. Before we begin, I want to review the cornerstone principles of DiSC. All DiSC styles are equally valuable. No one style is better or worse than another. Everyone is a unique blend of all DiSC styles, and your unique primary style is also influenced by other factors such as your life experiences, your education, and your maturity. Let's take a look at what I call the PACE and priority model. It's the essential tool for preliminary diagnosis, discussion, and understanding DiSC styles and their relationship to each other. The vertical dimension represents what I call PACE, and we see the descriptors at the top and bottom of that PACE continuum. This is referred to as your outward activity level. The horizontal dimension represents what I call priority, and we see those descriptors at the left and the right of that priority continuum. I like to refer to this as your agreeableness quotient. And what I mean is those who are agreeable place a higher priority on cooperation and social harmony, whereas those who are less agreeable place a lower priority for cooperation and social harmony. But it is this interaction between these two continua which forms the four quadrants of the DiSC model. As we look at this simple grid, we can begin to make the unique pace and priority pairings into each quadrant as follows. Fast-paced and outspoken, fast-paced and outspoken with a questioning and skeptical priority describes a D, or dominant. Fast-paced with an accepting and warm priority describes an I, or influence. Cautious and reflective pace with an accepting and warm priority describes an S, or steady. And cautious and reflective pace with a questioning and skeptical priority describes a C, or conscientious. Now, this simple model helps to point out which styles share pace or priority or neither with another style. For example, the D and the I occupy the top half of the pace continuum. They share that. The I and the S occupy the right half of the priority continuum as they share that. The C and the S each occupy the bottom half of the pace continuum, and the C and the D each occupy the left half of the priority continuum. So we can see the styles which share either pace or priority. Also, as you can see, there are a couple styles which are dissimilar from each other, meaning they share neither pace nor priority. Specifically, these are the D and the S, and the I and the C. Now, the model here makes it a little bit easier to see how different these styles are. So when they're interacting, this difference requires what I like to call stretching or flexing and adapting. For example, there are times when a parent needs to stretch to be more directive and times when they need to stretch to be more supportive. Same is true with differing styles of DiSC. Today, we'll be discussing interaction between the C and the S styles. Now remember, I always like to consider both pace and priority just to help us begin to understand a style. The C has the more cautious and reflective pace with a questioning and skeptical priority. When we combine the C's unique pace and priority, we can see the refined descriptors for the C as precise, analytical, systematic, reserved, and quiet. The C style is about ensuring accuracy, maintaining stability, and challenging assumptions. If they had a motto, it would be do it right. Now, the S also has, as we said earlier, a cautious and reflective pace. However, with an accepting and warm priority. When we combine the S's unique pace and priority pairings, we see different refined descriptors such as even-tempered, accommodating, patient, humble, and tactful. Now, the S style is about providing support, maintaining stability, and encouraging collaboration. If they had a motto, it would be, let's do it together. Hopefully you're starting to see the style differences already. Now, what might help us understand the previous descriptors is just a quick definition of the core themes or needs. To understand the C, we first need to understand that people with this style have a strong instinct to analyze. This analytical theme is driven by three needs. C's have a strong need for safety and security. That is, to have things in their life be stable and to reduce unknowns and identify dangers and threats. They want a place where they know all the rules. They have a strong need to be beyond reproach. It's as if they're saying, my actions are so justifiable that I can't be criticized. They don't want to be the one to blame or be responsible for a problem. And they'll spend time and energy avoiding that very position. And third is a strong need to or for control. For example, social interactions are tough because they can be unpredictable. So the C style may pull inward just to control what is said. Now, the fears of a C include, as you might guess, criticism, slipshod methods, and being wrong. Now, let's compare that with the core needs of an S. The S is simple, a need for harmony. An S wants to know that things are running smoothly and evenly, no looming tension or pressure or danger on the horizon. They want to know that there is harmony in both their relationships and their tasks. Remember, the S is all about support and stability and collaboration. Now, this need for harmony can even result in a bias to give other people the benefit of the doubt. And it's also a powerful desire to avoid conflict and the things that create conflict. So the S's fears include loss of stability, change, especially if it's rapid change, loss of harmony, and offending others. Now, you can understand if just at a high level, if a C is interacting with an S, let's say the C's questioning and skeptical nature and a focus on accuracy with a do it right approach meets up with an S's accepting and warm approach who encourages collaboration. And yet that's seasoned with a motto of let's do it together. If you're the C, this difference in styles requires something different than how you might interact with a fellow C style. At a minimum, there's that need here for stretching, like I said before, for one or both parties, as we talked about. Okay, so we examined the behavioral patterns and tendencies, preferences, needs, and even fears of the two styles. I want to use an example of the I style just to focus us off the C and the S for the moment. This will be our example, so I can kind of pause here and dive a little deeper and broader into what further defines a style. We'll get back to our C with S interaction shortly. Now, in the past, DiSC was defined our primary style just in terms of where it fell in the four-quadrant DiSC model as pictured in the upper right-hand corner. Now, that's still true. But we know now that there is much more to style identification and that there are at least two ways in which even similar styles may differ. So in order to properly explain this, I want to introduce you to the Everything DiSC model on your screen. Wiley research has shown us that there are actually 12 primary styles or segments or regions or pie slices within the four quadrants that we've all come to know. Now, through research, Wiley has learned that when a primary style sits closer to a neighboring style or neighboring quadrant, it tends to take on some of that neighboring style's characteristics. So note the ID style within the I quadrant and the IS style also within the I quadrant. We call those two styles blended. Now, they occur through what's called adaptive testing, and it's more precise and ensures consistency, and that's what the research has generated over time. So this primary style dot on your DiSC is unique to you and is in a very specific position. Okay, enough about technology, back to understanding you. Let's look at the two ways eyes, for example, can differ. One is through inclination, and that's inclination of a style, which shows how naturally inclined a person is to encompass the characteristics of their DiSC style. And the second is simpler, it's proximity or placement to the neighboring style. Let's first look at inclination using the I style. We'll look at proximity in a moment. And by the way, I refer to your disc as a dot. However, I'm using circles here just for illustration. Now, a dot at the outside of a circle indicates a strong inclination, which means you have a strong primary eye style. This means the descriptions about your eye style probably resonate with you, and other people can probably recognize those qualities in you as well. A person who has a dot closer to the outer edge means they may have a struggle to expend more or have to expend more energy to stretch to behaviors outside their style. Now, a dot in the middle of the quadrant or the slice of pie indicates a moderate inclination, which means you have less than a strong style. However, your primary is still an eye in this example. The inclination changed from strong to moderate. However, look at the proximity. It changed a little bit as well. You see how the dot moved closer to both the D and the S quadrants. Now, in this case, the eye style, the moderate style, still resonates with you, perhaps not as much. However, it usually indicates a little bit more of a willingness and ability to be able to stretch and adapt to meet other styles than does that dot outside at the edge of the circle that we just spoke about. Now, a dot near the inside edge, of the pie slice, or is also near the center of the circle, that indicates a slight inclination to encompass those characteristics of the eye style. So it's still considered a primary style. Now, just as before, the inclination changed and the proximity moved even closer to both the D and the S quadrants. So it is a mix, and it's a bunch of variables that are changing constantly to get you to where your dot is. You might also find it, this style right here, might also find it easier to stretch and adapt to other styles than do the other two, the moderate or the strong. Now, as I mentioned, second to understanding our style is proximity or placement to the neighboring style. In this example, I'm just looking at proximity and not inclination, just to make this point. In our example, there can exist three styles of eye within the eye quadrant. As you can see, the I quadrant contains an ID, an I style, and an IS style. Now, I is still the primary style. Let's remember that these I styles still share some degree of faster and outspoken pace and accepting and warm priority. Let's look at the subtle differences which make them unique. Now, the ID primary style, and it's a blended style, is in close proximity to the neighboring D style. People with the ID primary style value taking action, so they tend to focus on moving toward their goals quickly. They like to maintain a fast pace, and they're probably comfortable making decisions on the fly. In addition, they tend to be enthusiastic, and they may come across as high energy people who like to rally others around a common goal. Most likely, they'll maintain an upbeat attitude and bring a genuine optimism to their work. Furthermore, those with the ID style focus on getting results. So they may come across as ambitious and goal oriented. Most likely, they enjoy leveraging relationships to achieve new accomplishments. Now, the I primary style sets a high priority on enthusiasm and tends to maintain an upbeat attitude. They get excited about new possibilities, and they may be very expressive when communicating their ideas. In addition, they are action oriented, so they often focus on making quick progress toward exciting solutions. They tend to be fast paced, and they may be eager to get going without spending a lot of time considering the implications of consequences. Furthermore, those with the I style also appreciate collaboration. They usually enjoy meeting new people, and they may have a talent for getting everyone involved and building team spirit. Now, the IS, it's also primary style in this case, and it's close in proximity to the neighboring S style. People with the IS primary style value collaboration, so they enjoy teaming up with others as much as possible. Because they want everyone to feel included, they tend to spend time and energy getting people involved. In addition, they tend to be enthusiastic, and they're likely to bring a positive attitude to their work and relationships. They're lighthearted and encouraging, and they often like to spend their optimistic spirit to others. Furthermore, those with the IS style tend to be flexible people who want what's best for others in the group. When others struggle, they tend to show concern and offer uncritical support. Now, for purpose of clarity and illustration, I've conveniently placed dots inside, of a particular region of the quadrant. However, please know that a dot may be located anywhere within the circle. It is the combination of inclination and proximity which determine your ultimate primary dot location. Just a reminder here of a cornerstone principle we learned earlier. Your unique style is also influenced by other factors, including your life experiences, your education, and your maturity. It helps further explain how, in our example, two eyes can be similar and from the same disc quadrant, but different enough to require some degree of stretch or flexing to meet each other's style. Okay, I want to share this quick everything disc team view report. This is what a report looks like when you have people take the disc, and you can see where the dots are. They aren't necessarily symmetrically placed into a pie slice, but this is what you'll get, as well as quite a lengthy narrative explaining it. But right off the bat, you'd say, okay, well, it appears that Paula Anderson is an S. She's within the S quadrant. More specifically, she's an SC. And I want to note right here, too, the second one down, the CS style, it's right on the line between the C and the S quadrants. So the primary style for that individual is CS. All right, let's continue. I felt that little sidebar was necessary before we continue. I like to share a kind of so what or why care about blended styles to help provide context for learners. And by the way, what I'm covering here applies to all four quadrants. Okay, so let's go back to our real case. Suppose we find the results of the everything disc of the two employees we were talking about are actually CD and SI, respectively. Let's focus on the interaction between them. We see that the CD primary style has a strong inclination, meaning it's on the outside of the circle, while having a close proximity to the neighboring D quadrant. We see that the SI style also has a strong inclination at the outer edge of the circle, while having close proximity to the I quadrant. Let's just take a quick look to see what the pace and priority model looks like overlaid on this. It kind of helps reinforce what we're learning. Now, our CD is toward the midpoint of the vertical pace continuum somewhat, and on the extreme left of the horizontal priority. The SI is in the center, kind of center third of the vertical pace continuum, and is in the extreme right of the horizontal priority continuum. Now, because of their inclination and proximity, people with a strong CD primary style may come across as skeptical and determined in their focus on making sure things get done correctly. They focus on planning and thinking logically to create the best solutions. They tend to avoid letting their emotions get in the way of making rational decisions. Under pressure, they can ignore people's feelings and move ahead independently. In comparison, the strong SI primary style, they're highly collaborative and they like to involve others in making decisions. Most likely, they'll try and build team spirit and are less concerned with individual accomplishment. In addition, they're also supportive and they tend to place a high importance on the needs of others. Because they have an accommodating nature, they're often willing to set aside their own opinions and needs to help others. And furthermore, those with SI style usually come across as cheerful and upbeat. They tend to see the positive in most situations and they're encouraging of other people's ideas. Now, going back to what we learned, we can understand the need for stretching when the CD style, having a do it right motto, meets up with an SI style, having a let's do it together. You can understand there's implications here for peer-to-peer or manager to non-manager or team manager to team. Or what about company employee to customer? Coming back up to a higher level, here's our model again to help reinforce and remind you where the C and the S styles fit into our grid. So today we looked at two individuals from different quadrants who share a cautious and reflective pace, however, differ in their priority, and even further identified when we consider their inclination and proximity. My caution here is lumping individuals into a style box or just a quadrant can really overlook what's behind the style and what's inside the person. I encourage you to share this webinar. I have a different one, different topic every week, and many of my customers and clients are using these as learning aids and kind of boosters to help continue the growth of DiSC culture within their organization. Now, here's a little bit of DiSC humor for you. So the CD gets into the car and says, without a greeting, I brought the map, hard copy and digital. My GPS continually recalculates if any issues arise so we can keep moving. Buckle up. No riders without seatbelts. No need to stop on the way since we have to be there by 2 p.m. and no detours are planned. I'd prefer to not have the radio on as it's distracting. I'll just check the map one more time before we go. Shut the door. We're already 2 minutes late on departure time. Now, the SI, already in the car, says, Hey, howdy, partner. I hope the AC is adjusted properly for you. There are the controls if you'd like to change it. Do you have what you need? I think I packed what you requested, but don't worry. If you do think of something, we can stop and I'll go grab it. No problem at all. I just want everything to go smoothly and for us to have a good time. Whatever your primary style, I hope this is a humorous look at and helps provide more insights into your style and or the other styles in your world and provides just a broader understanding as to what makes for a successful interaction. I hope this has been helpful and helps address the challenges faced by your organization, whether your needs include employee engagement, conflict management, team building, or simply communication. DiSC is a research-based leading training solution. It's impacted more than 8 million learners in over 130,000 organizations and through 14 languages in over 70 countries worldwide. It provides a quick, intuitive way to understand yourself and the needs and priorities of others, and it delivers immediate and lasting impact on the performance of people and the culture of organizations. And as always, the key to effectiveness through DiSC is understanding your and others' styles, then using that knowledge for improved interactions. Thank you for joining us. Here's our contact info. Meanwhile, good luck with the DiSC. And before you go, I want to extend a resource and a request. If you'd like to discuss a complimentary live webinar introducing DiSC to your team or organization, use the email shown, info@training location. And be sure to check out our other blogs if you like at our website. And before you close your screen, we always appreciate a like or a share or a download. And of course, for future videos, click subscribe and receive your weekly bell alert for new learning video. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now. Have a great day.